Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular video is a part of a 6-part series. This is part 4. If you would like to watch the whole thing, there is a playlist in the description. Anyways, on to the story. Station Prometheus Alpha. In orbit around material world Prometheus. Observing the Sagan Dyson sphere around Julianov 6. In a one-way corridor halfway between MedLab and the command center. I came to an important revelation when talking to Chief Analyst. Dr. Reyes began without preamble, having yet again cornered Commander Church and Lieutenant Matthews during work hours. They were curious about Sagan, of course, wanted to know how we did it, but most curious of all was what exactly they sought to understand the most. And they made a good guess at how we gathered the materials and how we used the energy of the incomplete sphere to feed back into the construction exponentially. But overall, the thing that most baffled them was the labor. They had no idea how we had gathered enough hands to put the thing together. She flipped a page on the clipboard that she was scanning as she spoke, ignoring Church's attempts to get a word in. It was littered with scribbled notes. That sort of fell into place after meeting with Taris. You recall how she said that she made that humanoid body specifically for the meeting? Yeah, I asked about that, and it turns out that the brood mothers do that all the time. They have the ability to produce highly specialized offspring to fulfill whatever task is needed. It's how they adapt. Say we have a task that needs digital precision to pull off. We would program a computer to do it. But for the same problem, a brood mother would create a unique Sky with a superpowered mind geared specifically to the exact task, and nothing else. It's a very efficient way of running a civilization, but it has its limits. She raised a finger knowingly, eyes triumphantly locked with Church's. Automated drone labor, exponential replication tech, these are things they just can't do. The brood mothers can create a lot of offspring, but they are still the only ones that can create offspring. It's the one task they can't make a specialized Sky for, making more Sky. So when they see something as huge as a Dyson sphere, they imagine we had billions and billions of people here disassembling a planet to make the thing. It's why they are so impressed. So, Leonidas, Commander Church interjected with a question largely unsaid. Dr. Ray shook her head grimly. Can't be done. The crew were literally designed to fly that ship. We humans just don't have any way of interfacing with it. If we want a warp ship now, we are going to have to remove its engine and integrate it into one of our ships. Well then, Church spoke up before Reyes could get in again. She could talk like this for hours without stopping. Looks like I have another project to get started. Ship number 0133, designated Taris 1. Position Z10049, X90461, Y91275. Brood Mother Taris was between jump 159 and jump 160 when she felt the awakening. She had a few last wistful moments of free thought. She spent it wondering if her plan would work, if this desperate attempt at freedom would have any chance of being different, if humanity could really do better than any of the dozens of civilizations she'd seen trampled effortlessly beneath the might of the brood. Then she reached deep within herself, taking all the melancholic thoughts with her, and buried her treachery into the depths of her psyche, where it would never be found. The takeover was gradual. Taris was not sure what to expect. It was the first time that she had experienced this exact part of the cycle after all. But she could feel genuine care in the way the Grand Queen exerted her authority. All the motherly love of a parent putting her daughter to sleep firmly, knowing that it's the right thing for her. 30,000 broodmothers between them are commanding 3 trillion Sky drones, mentally bowed towards a single point in space. Over 1,000 separate wars across almost 6,000 light-years of space instantly stopped. The respective leaders going from bitter enemies to perfect comrades in the space of a heartbeat. There was a burst of sadness across the network as the Queen expressed her disappointment at the hostility between her beloved daughters, her regret at the Sky who had died fighting one another. Then, after bathing her children in love, the Queen demanded a report. A mountain of data, more information than anything else in the known universe, organic or digital, could possibly process, was directed to the vast consciousness of the Grand Queen. 800 standard years multiplied by 30,000 separate experiences was processed with breathtaking efficiency, analyzed, compared with other information, and filed into the Grand Queen's memory, the most powerful computer in the universe at work. Then she arrived at a modern day, and a single report gave her pause. Broodmother Terrace felt the vastness of the Queen's mind focused down on her, a sensation that would have likely rendered her unconscious if she hadn't lived it before, an ant suddenly having the intention of a god. Images filtered through her mind, Terrace's memories being sorted through with careless ease and loving care, the Queen only slowing to guarantee she wouldn't harm her. A star disappearing, a warp journey, a panic report from a captain of the Explorer cast, a structure that allowed a sun, transcendent quantities of sheer power, a demand filtered through to Terrace, one that brooked no arguments. You would tell me of this race called Humanity. Station Prometheus Alpha, in orbit around the material world Prometheus, observing the Sagan Dyson sphere around Juliana 6. Brig. They were expecting it. They had been given warnings from Terrace upon her leaving that Zydus and its crew behind. They'd even locked the crew in containment cells as a precaution, the Sky going in willingly at the command of their broodmother. All the same, the human staff of the Prometheus Alpha were totally shocked when the entire crew of the Zydus suddenly turned hostile. Calmly talking crew members behind locked cells stopped speaking mid-sentence. Those who had been eating from the nutrient feeders installed in the facility from their ship stopped mid-bite. There was an eerie few minutes as the drones all stared at the wall in a haunting synchronized silence. None of them attempted to communicate. Then all at once, every single one of them attacked the walls of the cells in a desperate attempts to escape. None were successful. Not immediately. The layered neo-flexiglass could withstand an impact from a small cannon, but Commander Church was quick to realize that a determined life form that appeared fully willing to injure itself to escape would eventually either find some way out or kill itself trying. Though he didn't like it, he authorized the use of gas Taurus had directed them towards to induce a soporific effect, putting them all harmlessly to sleep. Well, we certainly know she wasn't bluffing, sir. All the crew members had acted the exact same way, despite many being in totally disconnected cells. Could all be some kind of hoax they arranged somehow, but I struggled to think of why they would do so. Seems counterintuitive to induce hostility with new civilizations, then hand them the initiative to attack. Church looked on soberly at the video feed from the sleeping Sky. It was looking more and more like First Contact was going to be yet another bloody chapter in humanity's history. Station Prometheus Alpha, in orbit around material world Prometheus, observing the Sagan Dyson sphere around Juliana 6. Labs. It wasn't her area, not even close. But how could Dr. Raids possibly deny herself a glimpse at the scientific breakthrough that would change human history forever? Such were her thoughts as she stared with intimidating intensity at the screens depicting the scene currently occurring in high orbit over Prometheus. Besides, she thought, it would keep her mind off of the, other big thing going on. She watched a single point of light glow with an luminosity that would have blinded her without the screen filtering it. Scientific readouts of the phenomenon scrolled down its neighboring screen, but she ignored the data. She wasn't a physicist. It would make little sense to her. The point grew more powerful, light visible to the naked eye from Prometheus Alpha, a new star in the sky. Sagan's massive energy output focused into such a tiny area by the lenses connected to the localized wormholes around Juliana. An emotionless voice read calm instructions, the head scientist behind the project. Then the light died down, replaced with something else. Cheering erupted from the supervising scientists. Dr. Ray fell back into a seat before her knees could buckle and took a deep breath to gather her thoughts. Then she promptly took off, like a kid, running off to her parents to show off a gold medal in a foot race. A few minutes later, a very serious meeting between station higher-ups, Premier and some senior staff from Earth was interrupted by an excited xenobiologist, bursting in with a simple but very impactful announcement. Project Genesis is a success. The meeting had discussed at length what humanity would have to do if the threat was genuine. A plan had been proposed to destroy the Grand Queen with minimal human risk if necessary. Use the Zydus warp engine to get to the prime Sky homeworld at the coordinates Terrace had given them, with a wormhole beacon on board. With their understanding of warp travel, Keeping an open wormhole with power supplied by Sagan would allow them to make the trip in a single jump. Instant travel. Then they could open a wormhole right in front of the enemy homeworld and direct the power of the Sagan sphere through it. Instant planetary obliteration. It was a grim thought. Genocide on a scale never seen before to save untold civilizations that would otherwise be trampled underfoot. Undertale? It was the last resort. The entire station staff had been given the chance to know the Skalai over the little time they had on Prometheus. They were curious people, alien in their culture, but with more similarities to themselves than differences. Chief Analyst had even mentioned a great bioseed that implied they shared an ancient ancestor. To have first contact end in a war of supremacy, when Taurus was clearly so desperate for peace, to have the greatest achievement of human engineering ever used as a weapon of ultimate destruction against a people who, in their understanding, were essentially slave soldiers to a single overlord. It could be done, but they didn't want to. None of them truly did. Then Dr. Reyes had burst through the door and given them the best news that they could have collectively heard all week. Project Genesis, the most experimental technology since the invention of the wormhole beacon. The eggheads were even now fine-tuning the equipment for use in the inevitable upcoming conflict. Genesis, the Skalai ignorance concerning drones, the energy of the Sagan sphere. The plan started coming together. 2 months after first contact, a Skalai armada arrived in Juliana's system. They were in a wide, very scattered formation, the direction of the Grand Queen, wary of any extremely wide area attacks made possible by the Dyson sphere. There were over 10,000 warships, an unprecedented quantity of sheer firepower and military supremacy. The sight of them gliding through space was dread-inducing, the last sight of 1,000 civilizations over galactic eons. This was an empire-destroying fleet. Broodmother Taris, together with 2 of her sisters that had been gathered to lead the vanguard, examined the human presence in the system, noting changes from Taurus's memory. First and foremost, there was a human fleet orbiting Prometheus above the layers of planetary soil that still lazily circled the world. Mostly the same model of ship, moving in impressively controlled formations. Approximately 800 of them. Confidence swirled in the minds of the other 2 broodmothers at the inferior numbers. A reprimand instantly came from the Grand Queen, reminding her arrogant daughters of past campaigns where a technological difference had led to shocking losses, even in conflicts where the brood had possessed an overwhelming numerical superiority. Even with the apparent advantage, the brood must adapt before victory was certain. Suitably chastised, the broodmothers ordered their fleets forward, weapons poised to attack. In the name of the Grand Queen, they would annihilate this upstart civilization and take their sun sphere as an asset to serve the great expansion that would soon begin. Human ships moved to intercept, and soon space littered with wreckage. The war had begun. End of chapter. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Caspar Arnholtz, Draxoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.